Initially, StarFox 2 looks a lot like its predecessor. It's sort of like Star Wars by way of Jim Henson, with a ragtag group of talking animals piloting angular spaceships in order to ward off an evil alien force. It has the same jagged 3D look that was so mind-blowing in the early 1990s. But whereas StarFox was structured like a typical action game, where you progress through a linear series of levels, its sequel is much more unique. The goal of the game is to both protect the planet Corneria from invading forces, and to defeat those would-be invaders. But instead of going through a predetermined set of levels, StarFox 2 gives you a choice. On the main map, you'll see missiles heading toward Corneria, and nearby planets that are now home to dangerous alien bases. At the very end is the final enemy. It's up to you to decide which problems to tackle. You need to take out the big baddie at the end, but if you ignore the smaller enemy bases and missile strikes, they'll slowly deplete Corneria's defenses, ultimately destroying it. Once you actually delve into battle, StarFox 2 feels much more like its predecessor. It's a 3D space shooter, where you take the helm of a sleek craft in an attempt to eliminate a particular threat. Venturing into an alien's base to take out its main power supply feels like going on a Star Wars trench run, and you'll dogfight evil pigs amid dangerous asteroid fields. It's thrilling stuff, especially when you meet a new enemy called the Mirage Dragon, which is essentially a giant, robotic, laser-spewing snake. You also have some new abilities this time around, namely the ability to transform your spaceship into a two-legged walking vehicle reminiscent of an Saint. As your campaign progresses, and missile strikes and battleships become a thing of the past, on normal difficulty at least, hard will screw with you relentlessly. Gameplay will escalate to take in simple maze navigation within nonlinear enemy bases, in which more key targets must be found and dealt with, before moving on to boss fights. Again, it's all very impressive on a conceptual level, but the simplicity with which everything is, probably necessarily, executed continues to make StarFox 2 feel like an exciting curio rather than a vital gameplay experience in its own right. You will want to take up that offer of replays though. The scoring criteria, which only really reveal themselves at the end of a run, are stern but logical, enticing you do one better the next time, with the certainty that if you just tighten up your early game, you surely can. And hard mode introduces some more interesting locations and enemies, as well as brutal new strategic demands. It's easy to see reasons why StarFox 2 might not have been released as originally planned, aside from Nintendo's entirely plausible claims that the next generation of N64-powered 3D was just too close to justify another Super FX-powered outing. Back in 1995, the design concept may have been too radical, its ideas too experimental, to avoid confounding fans, at least as the first sequel in a burgeoning franchise. And while many of the ideas in play are certainly excellent, you can indeed feel the SNES creaking while trying to do them justice on the scale they deserve. But today, StarFox 2 is a very welcome addition. You might not love it as much as you want to, or indeed in the way that you want to. But as a time warp into a long-lost, and terribly important, part of Nintendo history, it's as invaluable as it is intriguing.